I look forward to a very tight timeline and doing what we can.
Good afternoon, everyone. Excuse me. And pardon my tardiness, but I'm sure as many of you know, the traffic and the exit ramps are all blocked off. It's a little wild out there. My name is Robert Lewis. I'm a lifelong Angelino. I've worked in the nonprofit sector for 30 years, with the last 17 or so being in philanthropy. Translation, I've been in the business of awarding grants to nonprofits for many years and served on several boards in the nonprofit sector. Looking forward to this process and honored to be a part of this commission.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Raymond Mesa. It's also an honor to be here. I'm a third generation Angelino. My family's born and raised, all three generations in Montecito Heights, so not too far from here. My nephew just graduated from Franklin High School yesterday, where my mom and my sister graduated. It's pretty wild. I went to Marshall in Los Feliz. I came out of the closet when I was 15, and I value my experience of being accepted by my family because of the values of this city, and so it's such an honor to be here. The last 17 years of my adult life, I've had a career at SAU Local 721. We represent 10,000 LA City employees, over 100,000 public sector employees throughout Southern California, and I have had a deep dive in a lot of city issues through that work, and so I look forward to bringing that experience here. Thank you, everyone.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Melinda Murray. I am a Deputy District Attorney for LA County, and this is my second commission experience. I was on the Ethics Commission, and I see some old faces of some of our community folks from there, so welcome, and look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Cristina Sanchez. I am the daughter of immigrants both from Mexico and Lebanon. I am a lifelong resident of the San Fernando Valley. My daytime job is in the public affairs space for a community clinic in Los Angeles. I have been involved in the public affairs space for over 35 years, and I also served previously in the Recreation and Parks Commission some time ago. I'm not going to date myself here, but I'm really looking forward to collaborating with everybody here and engaging our residents in the city as well. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Martin Schlageter, and I'm excited to work with all of you. My current position is in the General Manager's Office of the Metropolitan Water District, which is the regional wholesaler of water, and Department of Water and Power here in Los Angeles is one of our member agencies. I do have city experience both in the department for a few years, Streets LA, and working on policy issues in the city council. So city professional experience of 10 years or so, plus other government experience here at Metropolitan Water District. And I'm very appreciative of the appointment from Council President Marquise Harris Dawson.
My name is Ted Stein. I'm also honored to be a member of this commission. Look forward to working with all of you. I'm not going to give Cristina the satisfaction of knowing that she's not the person that has served on commissions for the longest period of time, because I think I predate her with my first commission appointment by about 15 years.
I don't know.
I've been honored to be on 3 commissions and be able to serve as the president of all 3 of them, and hope all of us working together, I think, can produce a charter that is more effective for our city.
Well, thank you, commissioners. Really appreciate that. And with that, today we have a busy agenda that will help this commission get started with its important work. First, we will have the elections of an interim chair and vice chair, items 1 and 2 respectively. Then item 3 will be a discussion of the remaining 5 commissioners with a staff report to begin that discussion. Finally, item 4 will be a report and discussion on the outreach plan. We will now open the floor to public comment. Speakers may speak up to 2 minutes maximum on only agenda items and not on general public comment. Please line up if you wish to give public comment. All righty, speaker when you're ready.
Thank you. My name is Rob Kwan. I'm with Unrig LA, and for the last 7 years have been watchdogging this place and pestering them to actually get this commission here. So I'm very happy to see that and congratulate you all on your appointments. This Sunday marks 26 years since LA voters approved the last overhaul of our city charter. A decade later, a motion was introduced by 6 members looking to follow up on that. It never got heard. We've seen an endless stream of corruption scandals in the last 6 months, historic fires, budget deficits, and now downstairs, our council members are talking about how the charter does not give them the ability to actually regulate our police department. So this could not be more timely. We can't come up with solutions in the next 9 months for all of those things, but we need to do as much as we can. On the issue of the vice chair, part of the reason I'm very happy to see this as an interim choice is the extent to which all of our commissioners can operate freely. Everybody heard the Fed tapes. Just before they were voting to approve those maps, Nuri and Kevin were talking about yanking their chair and vice chair. That is why we came up with an ordinance that includes protections against removal. And that is unique to very few of our commissions. Ethics, the police department. Unfortunately, Mayor Bass is trying to circumvent that and is asked her appointees to sign undated resignation letters. And I have nothing against any of those commissioners. In fact, something I really like. But I do have PTSD from 2021 and redistricting, and I question the wisdom of appointing a chair who might be yanked single-handedly by the mayor. I hope we get that matter sorted out. You received a letter as a follow-up letter on the need for having an open application process. This was in part because we wanted to avoid what we had with redistricting, where we had 21 gladiators that were operating on behalf of political officials. I would also just note that we have extremely limited time. I've had 30 seconds to address each item. We got to do better than that. And we also have to have remote comment. The Ethics Commission meets here. They have remote comment. There are people who wanted to be here,
Thank
and I
you.
got emails from them at the last minute saying, I'm scared about traffic and the protests.
Thank you, Speaker. Your time's up. Next speaker.
Hello, everyone. I'm Nancy Yap. I'm Executive Director for the Center for Asian Americans United for Self-Empowerment. Wanted to just introduce myself. Thank you all for your service, and just realize that for me, it's really important that Asian and Pacific Islanders also have a voice in this process. So looking forward to hearing more about how the rest of the commission will be selected. Sort of a reminder of the need for diversity and the diversity of our community, already in itself very diverse and very present here in this city. So looking forward to being not just a resource, but also a partner as we go through with this commission. Thank you all.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good afternoon. My name is Jeremy Payne. I'm a representative of Catalyst California and a member of the RLA Coalition. I did write my comments here, so I will be looking down. I apologize. RLA, for those that aren't familiar, the Organize, Unite, Reform Los Angeles Coalition is a multiracial, multi-generational, multi-issue, and intersectional coalition of community-based organizations and racial justice advocates who are committed to community voice, racial equity, power building, multiracial solidarity, structural reform, and transparency in wake of the audio leaks that came out with the redistricting process in the city of Los Angeles. Our advocacy efforts were instrumental in the shaping of City of Los Angeles' newly established independent redistricting commission. So we take a lot of pride in that, and we have been a strong partner of the city as well as with city council members in the design of that ballot that successfully passed. Yesterday, we submitted a letter, RLA, expressing our hope to see a charter reform commission that is representative of the city's demographic and socioeconomic diversity, especially of historically underrepresented communities, and whose members are committed to creating a charter review process that centers racial equity and shared governance with communities. As you prepare to select 5 members of the commission for item number 3, RLA asks that the commission prioritize communities, backgrounds, and experiences that will help broaden its current makeup. Thank you for your consideration, and we look forward to being a partner and a resource as we continue to drive community-driven charter reform processes. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker. And for the room and for those listening, I'll just remind everyone, for those letters that were submitted, they were sent electronically to all the commissioners and were printed out for them and are with them now today. Thank you. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Indira Mack. I'm here as a LA City resident, but also here identifying as a youth who is very passionate about civic engagement. I feel like I am one of few youths in this room right now, and so just wanted to name that, but also just excited that this is happening, but also just excited about youth also being engaged in this process, and just want to voice and excited to hear kind of what is the outreach plan and how you all go about including youth in this conversation, because most of them are not in this room right now and are not typically in these spaces. And also just echoing previous public comments of having Asian and Pacific Islander representation in this commission as well, but also just engaging with the communities because it is a crucial part of the LA City as well. But overall, excited and just really nice to meet you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Good afternoon. I'm Ross Weisstroffer, a CD13 resident with the Fair Rep LA Coalition, speaking as an individual on agenda items 3 and 4. Commissioners, the decisions you make today will determine whether charter reform will include all of LA or just those already at City Hall. First, I'm asking that you establish an application deadline for new commission members no sooner than next Tuesday. Communities need time and clarity to put forward their best leaders, and without it, the commission won't fully reflect the city that it's seeking to serve. We also need an outreach and engagement team plan that values accessibility. Remote public comment means that if someone checks the news and isn't sure they can access City Hall or the downtown exits on the 101, they can still participate. Live recorded video will also be greatly helpful for deaf Angelenos and those with auditory processing disorders that can affect up to 70% of older adults to access this process, and will help everyone follow this commission through its complex work. But there are always more ways to increase access, prioritizing evening and weekend meetings, guaranteeing Spanish language interpretation at all meetings. Why should this commission invest more of its limited time and resources in accessibility? LA's strength comes from its diversity, its equality, its inclusiveness. This commission can model that strength and realize those values by taking action to ensure everyone can meaningfully participate, not just those who can take time off work to come to City Hall on a Tuesday afternoon. The credibility of your final recommendations with all of LA and all of its voters depends on this accessibility. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next speaker.
Hi, everybody. I literally rushed down here. I don't have an agenda. My name is Kathy J. Hood. I am here as a resident. I serve in the Hollywood Studio District Neighborhood Council. I'm also appointed LA County Commissioner on the Economy Efficiencies Board. I got appointed by Lindsay Horvath. I also serve on, I'm a chair for the AI committee. I applied for this board. I want to be a part. I want to be considered. I want to be a part of just change and making solutions, and also providing solutions to issues that are currently, as you can see, everyone is in the room right now. I also run a PR communications agency. I represent talent, celebrities, corporate brands who would love to bring my skill sets to the table. Also, community engagement is a big, big thing, and how you guys streamline the process across commission boards is also an important thing. So just here as a resident, introducing myself, Kathy J. Hood, and consider my application.
Thank you so much. And I think our final speaker. Fantastic. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be in this seat with you today. Apologies, I may just be speaking on the fly here, but I'll start by introducing myself as Nicholas Caputo. I'm an Echo Park Neighborhood Council member for the past 2 years. Simultaneously, I'm on the Hollywood Chamber of Commerce, and I've worked with multiple nonprofits, most recently Wesley Health Centers, in service for providing health care for those most at risk, including those, specifically those on Skid Row and those facing Medicaid cuts from the federal government. I would say that I'll start with something I repeated several times in my application. Los Angeles is the greatest city in the world, but it's not the greatest city in the world because of where we are currently. It's because of where we can be. It is a global nerve center, mentioned in the same breath as places like Tokyo, New York, Singapore, whatnot, but it did all that without tall buildings, public transportation, and with a profoundly dysfunctional government that has beleaguered it really since the time it was a hamlet on the Pacific Ocean. During my time as the neighborhood council member, specifically on the planning and land use and the livability and sustainability committee of a rapidly changing and growing neighborhood, and like so many neighborhoods in LA, it has the capacity to be part of your DNA within 5 minutes of signing a lease for it. The problems that we see as a city are imminently solvable, and they deliver a sense of optimism, actually, because the things that strangle them are not natural disasters or things that are acts of God that are impossible to solve. They are very possible to solve problems via the laws that we have set for each other, whether that's our ability to really work and have an equal footing with the police department, to the amount of council members that we have, to the amount of time it can take to have a simple city request done, to the amount of actual weight the words of neighborhood council members who are actually in the community really have. And in a city that is one of the most diverse on the planet, these actions and these ability to democratize what we have and to include the voices of everyone involved are hugely important. I look forward to the consideration of my application. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And unless there's any other public comment, we're going to move on. All righty, thank you everyone who participated in public comment. With that, item 1, discussion and possible action of appointing an interim chair of the commission. Again, to a speaker's comment, this is for interim chair, and then we'll have interim vice chair and likely have elections for those positions again once the full commission is set. So with that, I'd like to open up the floor for any nominations of chair.
Thank you. Yes, I'm very pleased to nominate Raymond Meza, Ray, can we say Ray? And to be our interim chair, which I believe lasts a few weeks, maybe, and may last longer, I don't know. But I would like to nominate Ray, and based on his long leadership in our SEIU Local 721.
Perfect. Is there a second?
I second it.
Second.
I'll have second. All righty. Then with the second, is there a discussion? Seeing no discussion, all those in favor of Ray Meza as our interim chair, please raise your hand. I will count that as unanimous and congratulate Ray as our interim chair. Congratulations, Mr. With that, I'm going to pass you the script. It might be helpful. Take it from here for our vice chair.
Good.
All right, we're going to turn to item 2 on the vice chair. Discussion and possible action appointing an interim vice chair of the commission. I'd like to open up the floor for any nominations for interim vice chair. Are there any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Christina Sanchez.
Second.
All right, hearing a nomination and a second, is there discussion? I'm sorry, is there any other nominations? Okay, seeing no other nominations, is there any discussion? All right, well, we have a motion for Christina Sanchez to be vice chair with a second. Let's take a vote. All those in favor, could you please raise your hand? All right, seeing that this is unanimous, congratulations, Christina, being vice chair. All right, that takes us to item number 3, discussion and possible action of creating a process to appoint the remaining 5 members of the committee. Can we get a staff report, please?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioners, first, I'd like to read out the ordinance signed by City Council, approved by the City Council and signed by the mayor creating this commission. In the ordinance, it states, quote, "The initial 8 members of the commission shall establish an application process and develop criteria for the appointment of 5 additional members of the commission. These appointments shall be made at a public meeting by a 2/3 vote of the 8 initial commissioners and shall be by subject to approval of the City Council. The commission shall endeavor to ensure that the commission reflects the city's overall diversity, including its racial, ethnic, sex, gender, sexual orientation, age, income, professional, and geographic diversity. However, formulas and ratios shall not be applied for this purpose. A person shall not be eligible to serve on the commission if the person is a registered lobbyist, has contributed to their appointing authority in 4 years immediately preceding the person's appointment, is the spouse, domestic partner, child, parent, sibling, or in-law of any appointing or confirming authority, has an ownership interest in a business other than a stock in a publicly traded company that contracts with or seeks discretionary approval from the city, or personally provides compensated services to the city under a contract, or finally, 5, serves in an elective city office. Service on a board of a neighborhood council shall not disqualify a person from serving on the commission. End quote. There are opportunities here to further improve representation on the commission that we have before us today. Staff fully acknowledges that there is no representation from groups including Asian and Pacific and Islander communities, as well as Native American communities, amongst others. It is important to note that the City of Los Angeles, according to city resources, is 48% Hispanic, 28% white, 12% Asian, 8% black, 3% 2+ races, and then other groups. Taking this into account, plus the language of the ordinance, staff recommends that the commission direct staff to close the application portal by noon on Friday and to take those applications and lower a list down to 20 or less potential commissioners to present at the next commission meeting on June 17th for commissioners to select during that meeting 5 members to send to the city council for final approval. It is important to note we have a fast approaching deadline of city council summer recess for those 5 commissioners to be approved. At last check, there are over 100 applications in so far, and they come from all corners of the city with a full spectrum of diversity that reflects the wider city. Finally, I'd like to note that the application portal has remained open this entire time since I believe it was originally announced at the beginning of the year. And applications have been continuously coming in throughout that process, even after an earlier stated timeline that passed and the portal remained open after that. That completes the staff report, and we are here for any questions. Mr. Chair.
And Mr. Chair, just a point of order. If the commissioners could please speak into the mic. Feel free to move the mics closer to you, just so that the audio is correctly recorded and presented out to the public.
Thank you. Let's open it up to discussion. Are there any commissioners who would like to jump in?
I have a couple of questions. Number one, when does council go on summer recess?
Thank you, Commissioner. I believe the date of summer recess is around July 1st. We've been told by the Council President's office that the latest that they can receive anything to get into the council agenda before the recess is July 19th. So that is our hard deadline that we've been given by the City Council in order to get.
July 19th?
Sorry, June, sorry, thank you for that. June 19th, which is just next week. So with a planned second meeting of this commission on June 17th, that gives us only a quick window to turn around, get that item to council. So yeah, that is our window. We fully acknowledge that there's some trade-offs here between trying to get the hard work that this commission has ahead of them started, and it will take a process for those commissioners to get approved and then to onboard, get through all their paperwork, and to get prepared for us to start our third meeting, which we'll discuss here shortly in the engagement plan, to get that process going, to have the full commission sat in time for that. So that's just kind of our schedule.
What is the outreach that has been done so far, even though I understand there's 100 applications that have come in, so that a more wide and diverse community has a chance to apply?
Thank you for that question. Per personally, since I've been in this role in the last month, I am not aware of any other actions that have happened since this was widely publicized at the beginning of the year. I know many council members publicized it. There were a couple press releases from the mayor's office that publicized it as well. Our communications with a lot of stakeholder groups, including those in the room, recently have let them know that the application process has remained open. But we are definitely open to taking direction from this commission on making sure that when the commission, whatever commission sets the deadline for, to use whatever channels as this, we're just getting started. We don't have any social media accounts, but we do have the resources of our city council members and the mayor to ask for to help publicize the application still being open.
I have another question, but I don't want to hog the microphone.
Yeah. I have a question. I have two questions also, and then we could jump in, or if people just want to get in the queue. There's two recommendations from the League of Women Voters and UNRIG LA that I wanted to ask your thoughts on from the staff perspective. The first one is the application deadline of June 17th that they recommend. The staff recommendation is for June 13th. I just want clarity. So the council office has told you that they would need agenda items by the 19th.
The 19th at the very latest, yes.
The 19th at the very latest, so that it could get, do we know when their last scheduled meeting is before the recess?
I think it's that July 1st meeting. And for that July 1st meeting, that's why we're given, backtrack to the July 19th to get everything in time. Because they, as I'm told, they have a lot to get in before that recess, and that's kind of the date that they're telegraphing for everyone to get their materials in.
Isn't it possible they could call it special so that we aren't so bound for time?
I don't work. I don't have that. That's above my pay grade to ask them.
It's Max's pay grade.
Yeah. I don't know if they would call a special. I don't know the past precedent to that. Max, who's worked on the city council, might know more about how a special city council meeting works. I know, I'm assuming council members have vacations planned and other calendars. Other things are arranged around that. So I simply don't know how that works. If Max has any thoughts on that.
It would be very difficult, I think, to do that. The other thing is technically these, the applicants will have to go to a committee as well, so we'd, be asking them to waive it from a committee. But if you've ever been in council chambers on the last day before summer recess, it's literally crazy. They're inundated with motions and things that have to get in before that recess. So yeah, I think it's going to be very difficult to get a special just because of the volume of what's going on in council.
Obviously, I'm speaking for myself and not for any of the other commissioners. It seems like this artificial deadline of June 17th is just way too short a period of time. I mean, for the outreach that's needed in all communities, including some of the communities which the speakers spoke about today. I know that I've spoken to a number of people, and they didn't even know what the heck I was talking about of applying to be a commissioner. I mean, and these are people in the know that follow politics at City Hall very carefully. And in order to get 13 people here that will devote a good part of their life to doing this, even though it says we're going to meet twice a month, I take that with a grain of salt, to get and try to accomplish what we need. I think we need to have the opportunity to have as many people apply so that we can pare down and select the 20, if that's the number that you've sort of stuck on, and make sure that those 20 are the 20 strongest candidates that are available from the pool.
Mr. Chair, if I may?
please.
Thank you. I definitely understand the commissioner's concern on the time. Again, we have over, I think, probably close to 120 plus applicants so far, and they definitely are representative of the demographics of the city of LA, including some of the some speakers' points of some of the gaps in representation so far on the commission. Again, it's a hard balance. It's a hard balance that we've discussed a lot on the staff side about, moving forward with what is a very tight agenda. We understand that, there will be a lot of demands on the commissioner's time and commissioner's attention to not only communities as we do a robust outreach, but also time and attention to the subject matter. And the discussion that this body will want to really delve into. So you're going to have to balance, this commission's going to have to balance, find maybe a happy medium, a compromise on balancing the needs for growing an already sizable pool of applications, or moving forward with an outreach plan and a schedule to get things, of course, getting those 5 commissioners to the council to be approved in time. And then really running through the calendar for what is an early April, first week of April deadline to get items to the city council in order to be deliberated and sent to the voters for November of 2026. There is, working with Max on putting together this agenda and timeframe, there isn't a whole lot of time to spare, to be honest. And we've got very little room and margin for error. So that was the balance that we looked at. Again, if there was a smaller application pool that was already in, I would have definitely been hesitant to suggest anything different than moving forward at the rate we are with the applications that we have. But I really think that we have with this large swath, and again, more applications still coming in, probably already today. I know some groups have already done some outreach and signaled some folks that will be applying. So really think there's opportunity to really get this done for the commission in the timeline. But again, I leave it to the commissioners to kind of guide and make that balance and see what, there's going to be a sacrifice at some point. Yeah, Max.
Yeah, I mean, just to reiterate, so essentially, we have a deadline of April 2nd, 2026 to get our work into the council. And we have some, basically steps we have to get through before we even get to the substantive work of looking at the charter and doing our recommendations. Our goal is to really start that work at the end of July. And essentially, if we miss this council recess deadline, we are going to be pushing back our schedule by a month out of 9 months. And that really just compresses the work of this body in terms of what we're looking at in the charter and the recommendations we're making. So I would say that's sort of the trade-off we're looking at here.
Max, one question. Are we going to send this as a total package, the council? Or if we decide on X as a change that needs to be made, will that be forwarded so that we're not waiting for the entire package?
So that's what we're going to be discussing, actually our next item on the outreach plan, but our outreach plan is really sort of a work plan of how we are sort of looking at, sequencing the items, but sort of how we've designed it is for it to be sent as a package in March of 2026. And we're going to talk about this more in the next item, but, we've met with Rafe Sonnenschein and Erwin Chermaninsky, who worked on the last Charter Reform Commission, and essentially what they recommended is you sort of deal with things, you vote on that recommendation, but you sort of keep it open and the ability to change it. So that's sort of the advantage is you could, have sort of a recommendation finalized, but it gives you more time for deliberation and to consider it until you turn it in March. But that's all things we're going to discuss on the outreach plan segment.
I have a question for our experts at the city clerk or city attorney's office. For Tuesday, July 1st council meeting, for it not to be special and regularly agendized, when is the deadline for the council president to put it on the agenda?
So I believe the deadline was communicated to the executive director that the council president is looking for a June 19th date.
Sorry, so just to clarify, this is Jonathan Grote with the City Attorney's Office. So I understand, are you asking for the date that was communicated by the Council President's Office, or are you saying the deadline established by the Brown Act?
Established by the Brown Act.
It would be 72 hours in advance, recognizing that practically speaking, there does need to be some staff time built in there to put out the agendas. So often for a Tuesday meeting, the agendas are posted on Friday, which may be a little bit more in advance than 72 hours, but obviously it's difficult, if not impossible, often to post agendas on the weekends.
Mona?
Well, sorry. We have this little, for purposes of discussion, I would like to make a motion. And I will make the motion that we accept staff recommendation, was it 5 PM, Friday the 13th?
It can be 5.
Just so we can discuss this as a motion that we can vote on. And I don't know if there's any other pieces that need to be in the motion. I was thinking mostly this deadline is obviously the hardest part. So I want to do that just so we can move forward.
All right, is there a second on the motion?
Can I propose it's midnight and not 5 PM?
Well, can we have a motion so that we could, I will second the
May I
motion.
amend the motion from my Commissioner
wait.
Fields for it to be midnight and not 5 PM on
And-
Friday?
I accept the amendment. Hard on staff.
Does the city council accept friendly amendments? The city, the law, rules? Because I know I usually don't.
So for friendly amendments, if you are making a motion on the floor and it hasn't been seconded yet, you are always allowed to amend because technically there hasn't been a motion made. So in this case, because Commissioner Fields is happy with the midnight, it could be the motion from Commissioner Fields for the deadline to be Friday, June 13th at midnight.
This, midnight, this would, okay, we got it. Okay, Friday.
And then the second could be from the chair.
All right. All right, so let's continue with discussion, but this discussion is on the motion for Friday, the 13th, June 13th, deadline at midnight. Martin?
Mr. Chair, Martin Schlager. My question is related to whether we could reopen this if, after viewing the recommended applicants, if we were not satisfied or couldn't find consensus on the appointees, could we reopen that? And I recognize that part of the challenge of making sure that we have additional commissioners is, one, ensuring that they're participant in all of the discussion, but two, making sure that we can convene as a group and meet our quorum requirements. So how do the quorum requirements, how are they affected if we appoint a partial number of the appointments, and whether then, if we're dissatisfied next week and we want to reopen things, whether we could do that? You mentioned there's a number of applicants, so I'm hopeful that we would be able to accomplish our task and get rolling and meet the council president's deadline. But if we could only do that in partially, because none of us have seen these applicants, so if we only met that partially, how would that affect our ability to meet and carry out the work?
So just so I understand the question correctly, it's what happens if this body decides to only, let's say, 2 or 3 names starting next week that would be proposed here on the 17th, voted here on the 17th, and then sent to the council president's office to be agendized at a council meeting? How does that affect the quorum requirements? I will defer to City Attorney Harit Trivedi for that, who is, and yes, go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. Harit Trivedi from the City Attorney's Office. I'll be one of the lawyers you'll see throughout this process, along with Jonathan and others from our office, so it's nice to meet you all. The ordinance contemplates you nominating the 5 together at one time. That's what the intent and the language of the ordinance says. You could nominate fewer than that if you don't have a consensus on 5 or enough votes to nominate 5. But once the initial nominations are made and approved by council, then you have a 13-member commission, and a quorum of 13 would have to be a majority of that commission to meet. So 7 members would need to be present to conduct business, even if there are vacancies, because you haven't completed the appointment of the other 2. But I would strongly encourage you to appoint all 5 at one time to facilitate what staff has said and Justin has said, the efficient operation of this commission going forward, because you have many decisions regarding outreach and other matters to make, and it's important to have the full complement of commissioners involved in those decisions before we go too far down the pipe.
Yeah. So I just want to be clear that it's my intent and hope that we can accomplish just that and be able to appoint all of these. But the answer, just to be clear then, is regardless of the appointments we make, it requires 7 of us to be the quorum.
Once the additional appointees are confirmed by council, then you have a 13-member commission.
Right.
And 7 would be the required quorum for a 13-member commission to act, to meet, to convene.
And as a practical matter, that would affect this commission's ability to act, for example, for the vote threshold. So the vote threshold would be based off of the 13 members. So if, for example, there were only 3 additional members who were, let's say it was 10 that were available at the time, in order to pass an action in this commission would be based on the total of 13, even if there were not 13 that had been appointed yet.
But the ability to meet and discuss requires that majority of 15 or requires the majority of appointed board members?
Well, there's 13
Or
total
commissioners.
commissioners, a majority of the 13 total commissioners, so 7 would need to be present to meet and conduct business.
So following up on Martin's question, if we were to appoint 3, that would give us 10. So it would take 7 of the 10 to move forward rather than where we're in the situation right now, it takes 7 of 7 to move forward.
Maybe there's a misunderstanding, but yes, that is true. If you appoint 3 more and you have 10, and there's a vacancy that council needs to fill also, or one of the council members needs to fill, you would need 7 to conduct business and 7 to adopt any measures or motions. This is an 8-member body right now, so you act by a majority of the 8 members that exist, so 5 votes are what are required to take action with this body right now.
Oh, good.
Where's the 8th member?
The 8th member has not been
dropped
appointed
out.
yet.
Okay, then why is an 8-member body and not a 7-member body as of right now?
Because the initial body is an 8-member, there's 8 seats, and so the majority is based on the number of seats.
So anyway, I think, Ted, we did get clarity on this, and you're absolutely right. There's 7 of however many of us exist, right? And ideally, we get all the way to 13 ASAP. That clarifies things for me. And so thank you, Mr. Chair.
Chair Mesa?
Yes.
I'd like to speak to my own motion. I'd like to know, and this is all very important on possibilities, based on my hope, if there truly are approximately 120 applications, hopefully more will come in by, let's say, Friday midnight. What is the impact on staff to bring us, let's say, 20 by Tuesday, the 17th, if the deadline is midnight? I mean, you're going to work all weekend, or, how's it going to go?
Staff is working on some of those details. One of the reasons I did initially put noon was so staff would have time to print out the applications at midnight. That we might do a first run at before the close of business on Friday to have them printed, because it might be a little harsher on the trees, but it's easier to read for my eyes, at least on paper. So yeah, we'll run a batch, and then for anyone who applies after that, we'll make sure they're included in the review as well, and we'll review over the weekend, Mondays, and have prepared for Tuesday.
And in other words, prepared the 20 that you believe provide us the diversity and quality for us to choose from?
Correct.
Okay. Call for a vote.
Are there other commissioners who would like discussion?
So, yeah, just for clarity, we have about 120 applications right now. And the preliminary charge is to select 20 from that list, no matter how many more we get from between now and Friday, okay? And how exactly will those 20 be? So who's responsible besides staff, or is it just the two of you?
It is staff that we're recommending that you direct, but with your direction, you can also, again, put emphasis on criteria when directing us, making sure that, again, per the ordinance, that it's reflective of the city. If there are any other considerations that you would like us to emphasize as well, staff will definitely take that into consideration and bring that back to you so that it is a group of 20. Again, the reason we're bringing you, I might not have mentioned this, 20 is, doing this in an open meeting with the full batch of applications might not be feasible. So allowing staff to bring you 20 makes that process a little more, something that can be completed in a public process. I'll just note, I seen what the county did on their recent process with their charter, I think charter item G or amendment G. They had a different process, which we are not taking, but their process was all behind closed doors, and they came out and announced their members. I think this is somewhere in a little more open in the process by bringing a good set of applicants to the commission to discuss, debate, and vote on in public for this process to be as Brown Act efficient as possible.
And I just want to be clear, I mean, I understand concerns around making sure that this body reflects the diversity of the city. Absolutely, I agree 100%. I try to be practical as well, so I think I understand what you're saying, Justin, in terms of, if it's not anything that can be practically executed, then it's just lip service, and I think it's just setting ourselves up for, more criticism and warranted criticism, I'd say. So finding that balance is important. So whether that number's 20, 25, whatever it is, I'm just curious about how we came about that number and who's responsible for it. And I'm hopeful as well of the applications received to date that, there's it's a nice quality batch in there to help us achieve the goal, and hopefully there will be several others that come in the next few days.
I'd like to jump to consideration of the applicant pool after we finalize the deadline. So I'm just going to reiterate the motion on the floor is for an application deadline of Friday, June 13th at midnight. Is there any further discussion? All right, then I'll call for a vote. All those commissioners in favor?
And Mr. Chair, just to reiterate, I'll read the motion.
Oh, please, yeah, sorry, yes, yeah.
The motion would be from Commissioner Fields, seconded by Chair Meza. Adopt the application process and criteria recommended by staff with an application deadline of June 13th at midnight.
Then if we're going to discuss the criteria, I think there are probably further discussion on that. So I'll hold on calling the vote for having discussion on the criteria.
Could staff just repeat what you read about the criteria?
Absolutely.
Just to be sure we all know what we're voting.
Thank you. Let's see, let me pull up, go back, here we are. Let's see, these appointments shall be made in public meeting, 2/3 vote, blah, blah, blah. The commission shall endeavor to ensure that the commission reflects the city's overall diversity. Emphasis added by me, including its racial, ethnic, sex, gender, sexual orientation, age, income, professional, and geographic diversity. However, formulas and ratios shall not be applied for this purpose. I'll put an emphasis on that as well. I'm sure when the commission it will further advise, it will be short of formulas and ratios, but just on, as the item said, endeavor to ensure the commission reflects the overall city's diversity. Thank you.
Call the question?
So there's been a motion to, or there has been a request to call the question by a commissioner. So calling the question means to end debate and to go straight into voting. And to call the question, we'll need a two-thirds vote since all the commissioners have not spoken. If the commissioners who have not spoken would like to relinquish their time, then the vote will be a simple majority. So are there any commissioners who'd like to relinquish their time?
I'll relinquish my time.
I'll relinquish my time.
Great. So I believe that takes into a simple majority vote for calling the question. And I'll do a roll call vote if you don't mind, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Field?
Yes.
Commissioner Lewis?
Yes.
Commissioner Meza?
No.
Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Yes.
Commissioner Schlageter?
Yes.
Commissioner Stein?
No.
So we have, I believe, 5 ayes for calling the question, and the calling question passes. So the commission will go straight into voting. And just to clarify, I believe this was the intent, but I want to make sure that this was logged. Commissioner Field and Commissioner Sanchez, for the midnight deadline, midnight for Friday, June 13th is very different from 11:59. So I want to make sure that it was 11:59. That was the intent.
11:59.
Perfect. So before the commission is the motion to adopt the application process and criteria recommended by staff with an application deadline of June 13th, 11:59 p.m.
Rock in a hard place.
So we'll go straight into voting.
Does there need to be a roll call, or?
I think roll call would be easier for the members of the public listening online.
Understood. All right, well, then we will go to a roll call vote. Commissioner Field?
Yes.
Commissioner Lewis?
Yes.
All right, myself, yes. Commissioner Murray?
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez?
Yes.
Commissioner Schlageter?
Yes. Yes and yes.
Commissioner Stein?
No.
Okay, the motion passes.
Yes, and that would be with 6 ayes.
Okay, we will move on to our next item. Discussion on creating the Charter Reform Commission outreach plan. Can I get a staff report?
Great. Hi, Commissioners. Max Podemski, Deputy Director. So we have 2 documents for you today, and these are also available online on our website. One is our draft engagement plan. The other is just a summary of our engagement plan and a proposed budget for the commission. So per the ordinance, we have basically requirements we have to hit for our outreach. So I'm just going to go through the, bullet points on this. All commission meetings must comply with the Ralph M. Brown Act and other applicable open meeting laws. Prior to the review of the city charter, the commission must develop and transmit to the city council an outreach engagement plan, which should include strategies to ensure the participation of a wide variety of stakeholders, including community-based organizations, labor, business, parent center, and faith-based groups. So this engagement plan does have to be approved by the city council. The plan must have a dedicated engagement process for the participation of the city's neighborhood council, with the goal of receiving community impact statements from at least 60% of these bodies. So community impact statements are basically statements on behalf of the neighborhood councils that they would submit to us. A town hall style event must be held in each council district, so all 15 council districts, with some meetings taking place after 6 p.m. and on weekends, with the public being notified at least 5 days prior to the date. And live translation should be available in relevant languages at each event. So these are sort of the requirements that we're using as we created this draft engagement plan. And one thing that became, extremely clear to us as we were designing this is we would really like to hire an outreach consultant to help facilitate and promote the meetings and engage the public. And their role would sort of be twofold. One, just to help us, set up these meetings, so registering people, signing them up on an email list. It would also be great to have, childcare at these meetings for people, translation and other things. And then the other aspect that this outreach consultant will do would actually help us promote these meetings to all those groups that were mentioned in the ordinance, and to develop sort of outreach tools for us to solicit and get feedback from the public. Another thing that they would assist with is, working with the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment to develop an engagement strategy specifically for those neighborhood councils. We've already met with the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment, and we're sort of developing that, but that's sort of going to be a separate, outreach platform. We have, over 90 neighborhood councils across the city. And then sort of getting into the schedule here. So, as I mentioned earlier, we have, our 2 meetings this month. But we're really sort of wanting to start the sort of formal review of the charter on July 19th, where we would have a discussion of the components of the charter and a history of the charter reform in LA. And then after that July 19th meeting, we're proposing to meet roughly every 2 weeks and alternate between Wednesdays and Saturdays to meet that requirement of sort of having meetings, at different times that are accessible to the public. And we're also proposing, in terms of hitting that goal of going to all 15 council districts, that will rotate those meetings between the Valley, Central West LA, and South LA. So, start in the Valley and sort of work our way down and then rotate until we hit all 15 of those council meetings. And then our final meetings where we're voting on those recommendations, we would be back here at City Hall. And every meeting, as we're having at this meeting, would have simultaneous translation in Spanish. And we're also proposing to have some of those meetings in additional languages depending on what council district we're in, and we're looking to work with the council office on sort of what languages would be appropriate for those meetings. Another thing that we have in this engagement plan is proposed focus areas. So beginning on our July 30th meeting, so after that initial meeting, we're sort of going through the history of the charter. We would have our first meeting on a specific focus area, and this is sort of like dividing the charter into specific topics. So that first meeting would be on planning and infrastructure, how to improve the delivery of city services. The second meeting would be in a category we're calling good government, but one of the main issues there would be how to remove council members who have violated legal or ethical standards. That third broad category would be government structure, and the main topic there would be how to reform the structure of the city government for better representation and accountability. And that final topic would be personnel, how to streamline and improve the city's hiring process. And so, what we're proposing is we would basically have 3 meetings dedicated to these topics. That first meeting on each topic, we would basically bring people in to present to you all, so city officials, departments, outside experts, and advocates. And our goal for sort of the end of the first meeting is that you would then direct staff to sort of bring back specific, items or topics you'd like to consider. That second meeting, we would bring back some sort of draft suggestions. We would have deliberation from you all. The third meeting, we would sort of bring a final list of topics that we would deliberate on that you would all, approve to sort of meet to our final meetings at City Hall, where we would prepare that final package to send to City Council. And so this larger document that you have sort of spells out, all of this on a schedule, those topics, and, the sequence of how we're proposing the commission would work. We're hoping to, have this engagement plan voted on once we have all of our members sat. So this would go to the city council, most likely in late July, August. But yeah, welcome your feedback on everything that's in here. And now I'm going to have Justin go over our proposed budget, which is on this summary document.
Thank you so much, Max. Really appreciate you putting that all together and that great presentation and the hard work you've put into that. And it's really, and to Max's point earlier, he's really modeled it after best practices, both in the past here in LA, from our discussions with people who were involved in the 1999 process, and just best practices that have been done in other charter reform processes in other cities. So this is really reflective of that. Let's see. Before I jump into the proposed budget, really briefly, I just want to let you all know, and those in the room and the public, that right now at Temple and Alameda outside, obviously we've heard a little noise. It is a do not go to zone. Right now it's a stay away zone at Temple Alameda, and there has been a dispersal order given out for the Alameda, Aliso, Temple area. So right outside of City Hall, kind of closer to the courthouse building. So just want to make sure everyone's aware. Safety has been on our mind the last several days as we approach this commission meeting. City Council meeting did go ahead as planned today. City Hall is still open right now. If that were to change, we'd immediately adjust how this meeting was taking place. But right now, City Hall is open. With all that being said, I just want to briefly touch on the council on the budget. City Council has allocated $1 million for this endeavor total. That $1 million was divided into both the fiscal year that's wrapping up and the fiscal year that's about to start, and allocation of $500,000 each between those two. So $1 million. These are rough estimates, again, based on past budgets, past best practices, on approximate numbers, with staffing at $350,000, other support and staff professional services, $450,000, non-personnel expenses, that's going to be things like printing, renting spaces, and other equipment for public events, etc., social media, doing ad campaigns on social media, etc., with about a reserve of about $50,000 wiggle room in there. Again, if we wanted to spend more, we'd have to go back to council to ask for more money. This is a particular tight budget year, as I'm sure all of you are well aware. So going back to council and asking for money might not be a welcome request, but that is technically an option. Really rough numbers. Again, we'll come back with better estimates in the coming weeks, and in the process, and to Max's point, we really want the full commission to weigh in on this once they are sat. But definitely happy to bring this to the commission that we have so far, and get some feedback and hear from you all on just some thoughts as we have put it together so far. Thank you so much.
All right, let's open it up for discussion. Commissioner Lewis?
Yes, thank you. With regard to the consultant that we may bring on, would there be a request for proposals, an RFP, as part of that process? If so, what is the proposed turnaround time for getting an individual or firm on board?
So we're really looking to bring someone on as soon as possible, hopefully well before that meeting in late July, because we want, to have these meetings be accessible. We want to promote them and then make sure we have, accommodations once the meeting's happening. So basically there have been departments within the city that have already, create like benches of consultants that can perform public engagement. So we're working with city attorney to hopefully do a task order solicitation to one of those lists for firms to do the tasks for this.
But is the answer to Robert's question yes or no? There will be an RFP or there will not be an RFP?
It will most likely be, what we call a task order solicitation that goes to a bench of firms that have already been pre-approved by the city. So their insurance is all approved and they're basically with the city, and the advantage of that is it expedites the process for us.
And will the commission be able to decide which consultant is hired?
Or at least have input.
Sorry, I didn't hear Robert's comment.
Or at least have input.
We're definitely looking forward to hearing your input as well and your guidance on this overall. Unfortunately, because of the timeline of this and what it takes to onboard, even from the bench who've already been through an RFP, we're not recommending at this time that the commission take a formal vote on the selected, just because by the time the commission meets in full in mid-July, we hope to have someone starting. These have already been pre-approved by the department and passed by city council, correct? This bench has been through the city council and been approved. So it really is up to the commission. If the commission wants to take different kind of action, that will affect the calendar, quite frankly. These outreach meetings, to some of the discussion, to the point of some of the discussion earlier, we really want to make sure we hit the mark on the outreach and the communication to the public, and do, this first meeting is kind of like building the plane while it's in the air. This is Max and I's first time starting a commission and running a commission meeting. And so we want the plane fully operational and in the air, and everyone's seats, I can go on with metaphor, but I'll stop. We really wanted to have a very great professional look, and with these pre-approved, council-approved firms that have already been vetted and gone through the process, we think we'll be in a good place to really, hit the ground running for that first meeting. Commissioner Schlageter?
Thank you for that answer. I recognize the need to be acting quickly, and I think drawing from a bench is a good idea. I guess what I want to be sure is that the commission has an opportunity to give guidance about how we feel outreach is sufficient. And so this task order that would be given, how is that developed, or how might we give input to it over time? I have, your overarching outreach plan, as you just walked us through, which is an excellent, structure and framework for us to begin with. But I recognize that, there may be gaps or intents that we that we discover in going through the process. So can you just guide me through how that task order is developed, what the flexibility is for us as a commission to give guidance on the outreach as we deem necessary as we go through the process?
So in the engagement plan, on sort of the first page of the table, we've laid out in these bullets sort of what we see as some of those tasks, so welcome all of your input on that. As far as, the actual process of bringing on an outreach consultant, we are currently working with city attorney on that. Maybe we could bring city attorney to the next meeting to sort of give you all a breakdown of that process. But, as you can imagine, the city has pretty strict contracting standards, so we're trying to navigate that process.
I think that's my point, is that we're not trying to dictate the consultant, but we do want to dictate the tasks.
Yeah.
Chair?
Commissioner Fields?
Along the lines of the commission's role in this process, the tasks, the list, and also the actual choice of consultant, is there any reason that the currently seated commission could not have a meeting between June 17th and July 19th, maybe even a week after June 17th, I don't know. I know you guys are hustling, but so the commission could actually at least discuss and have some input, or are we not allowed?
My interpretation, I'll also defer to city staff, is that once I would feel uncomfortable once you vote and approve on 5 new members to have a meeting without them and conduct business. I don't know if it's allowed, but I would feel uncomfortable saying, we want these 5 new members, but we're going to keep on moving without you. I'll let city attorney, if they have any guidance on that.
I'm sorry, but to be clear, we set this timeline in order to enable the appointments in June.
Yes.
Correct?
Yeah, but they still have to go through city council.
Yeah, but the reason we set the timeline is
Yeah.
because it would go through council before council recess.
Which I'm guessing might be July 1st that they would go, and then we hit the holiday right there. So, I mean, we could look at the calendar, and again, and look at possibly a meeting before. I think we're roughly aiming for July 19th. There are, and to be honest, there are also some holiday time that I know commissioners and staff are taking, so it might just be hard to have another, but not impossible, and we can definitely look at some of those calendars and
Well,
see if
then
there's another meeting.
I just want to
Sure,
record,
absolutely.
I just want to record then that I don't share the same concern that if the council, for some reason, is not acting expeditiously on our requested appointments, that we're not going to meet. Thanks. I believe we can meet, even if they don't take our recommended appointments.
Okay, I'll defer to the city attorney. I'm not sure.
Yeah, so again, Jonathan Crow, LA City Attorney's Office, and I should have mentioned this earlier. So I am one of the Brown Act attorneys. Harit Trivedi, who we've already met earlier, is the expert on this specific matter. But in discussing this with him, the purpose of this initial body of 8, or I guess 7, because we had a member resign. We think of it in terms of 2 stages, and that includes what constitutes a quorum and what the authority of that existing quorum is. So for this initial stage of 8, now 7, this body is charged with selecting the additional members. The additional authority that expands beyond that to make other, I think, policy-making decisions, which is what you're discussing now, would not exist until the other members are seated, because it was intended to make sure that the larger body makes these decisions.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So that's not to say that you can't meet before the next date, but that you wouldn't be able to make, I think, the decisions that Commissioner, I apologize, it's Schlageter is suggesting.
Thank you.
Just to clarify, we hope and expect that we will do our job, as you will, and on June 17th, we'll find 5 qualified people who reflect the gaps, shall we say, in our current diversity. The council, we hope and presume, will approve the 5 by July 1st. Could we not at that point say that the full 13 are invited on, let's say, July 8th, which is after the holiday weekend, or maybe even a few days later, to talk about this issue? I mean, I'm not that attached to having that much input, but it's a pretty important decision.
Absolutely, and that's why I conceptually, we do have that discussion set for July 19th. That this will be, this whole package, it has to be, per the ordinance, approved by the commission. We will be taking, to Max's point, we will be moving forward with some items, under our authority to, get that first meeting up and running and make sure everything's in place and we have proper outreach and everything. But the commission is the body that approves the engagement plan and sends it to the city council afterwards to be approved. Again, even after, once the commission approves, we'll keep on running with it. And we don't know when the city council will ideally agendize this engagement plan, but we'll keep on moving forward with it once the commission approves. But the commission does have to approve it, and we do have that in mind for that July 19th meeting.
For just clarity, I wasn't talking about the actual plan, I was talking about the hiring of the consultant.
Sorry.
Specifically. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Again, not what staff is recommending right now, because just with the time, even if we had, let's say, meet on the 8th, it's to get ready by the 19th, I just don't see that. Everything in government takes time. Again, this commission, we're listening to your input and everything, and we want to take your advice on it, but we're limited by the calendar as well. The calendar is something that we're hitting, and we want to serve you best, and we think this is the way we can serve you best is by going forward with already a bench of consultants and teams and companies that have been approved by the city council and vetted by city staff.
I have myself and Commissioner Lewis in the queue. Would other commissioners like to get in the queue at this point?
I have a question on the package.
So I will add you to the queue, Commissioner. I want to comment on this, and then I have two other items. For me, I definitely do not really have an interest much in selecting who the specific consultant is, but I do have an interest in discussing the tasks that the consultant will do. And my comments are specifically about, my additional comments are about those tasks. Well, one of them is, which is having these meetings streamed virtually. Some of the meetings that were done in 1998 were broadcast. So I fully expect that these meetings should be streamed virtually, considering that we're in 2025. And I would like to discuss, having a robust social media and digital presence, which is already incorporated, but I would like to discuss that in more detail in the commission setting. And I want to appreciate the work that staff has put in is very clear. And I want to just say, it is much appreciated, because I know that you also all went from 0 to 100, very quick. In addition to that, rightfully so, staff and commissioners, I realize the timeline that we are under, and has been mentioned. You could do one of those drinking bingo games about the number of times it has been mentioned. And so I want to discuss the meeting frequency. I myself have an extremely busy career. I'm in charge of over 200 staff. But I also know that there was a charter commission 30 years ago, or about 30 years ago, and the previous one was 90 years ago. So this is only the third one in 120 years. And at some stage, we must meet more frequently. It does not make sense that we are meeting every other week. At this stage, it does, because we have to get the additional applicants. And I understand that everyone has busy careers and busy lives, and other commissioners, so that's why I'm only speaking for myself. But I would adjust this plan so that we meet on a weekly basis, shortly after we get the full contingent of commissioners. So I have Commissioner Lewis next on the list.
Yeah, I think in terms of the task that the consultant will take on, and I feel pretty good about that. I think between staff and this body, I think will be okay. I guess my question, or I don't want to say concern is too strong of a word. I'm just wondering about the bench or the pool itself. How many consultants are in that, or are part of that bench? The process for becoming approved to be a part of that bench or that pool, so that we know whoever is selected is not just qualified because they submitted proper documentation, but that they are in tune with the city, its residents, the importance of bringing diverse voices to the table and engaging everyone throughout the city. I just given my field in enlisting consultants throughout the years, I'm wondering about the bench itself. So I don't think we need any formal input, formal vote on bringing the consultant on. That's not my issue necessarily. I'm just wondering about the bench itself. So if there's any transparency around that.
Commissioner Stein?
Thank you. I have one other question that doesn't relate exactly to what we're talking about, but part of this motion had the issues that you thought most important for the commission to discuss and make recommendations on. What if there are other issues that individual commissioners or a majority of the commissioners all agree upon? Those should be included on the list. By voting today for this, are we in any way foregoing the opportunity to bring up other issues?
I'll start with, on the vote. I don't necessarily think, and I'll let the city attorney, city clerk, I don't think this is more of a discussion, the receive and file item. Again, with the limited scope of this initial body. Yes, absolutely, to your point, there are going to be more topics there. I think, I can't remember which one of you I had a conversation with where I joked, like, there could be a huge swell of support for this body to put in the charter that LA buy the Golden Gate Bridge. That could happen. This is, in place of like some other subject that could come up between now and the process, and we have to add 2 meetings just on buying the Golden Gate Bridge. I'm going to get some kind of email from the city of San Francisco here soon. But so that's an example of something that could come up, and other items will come up. There are definitely a potential for having more meetings for in this process. I don't think there's too much potential for less. Let's put it that way. We laid this out with room to add. It is still an aggressive schedule. There is, between each meeting, there is time for staff to prepare not only for the subsequent meeting, but to react to that meeting that just happened at times. So let's say we have a meeting on a Tuesday, and suddenly that groundswell for buying the Golden Gate Bridge happens at that meeting. We can't have a meeting so quickly that we don't have time to find out if it's even for sale, for example. Just to really ring out that example. So there are going to be more topics that come up. There's going to be more emphasis on certain topics than others. There are going to be the unknowns that we don't know yet. It's going to be an exciting process. I really think we're going to have. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be downright fun at times, and it's going to be it's going to be aggravating at times because we won't be able to get to everything, and this body, including the coming 5 commissioners, will have to really prioritize what items might have to be pushed aside in order to get through the process and get things to City Council for the November election. And
I just wanted to add, so the sort of initial topics we have in here, those come from the motion that created this body. So that's sort of what we're using. That's how we got to those 4.
Chairman Miss.
Yeah, Commissioner Stein, any follow-up? Are you good?
I'm fine.
All right. I have Commissioner Murray and Field. Commissioner Murray?
I have a logistical question. Some of these items you're saying commissioners heard in council, would there be a requirement to have a quorum of all the commissioners on those occasions, since we would just be presenting?
Those, are you talking about where we have like, the thing goes to council?
Approves.
Those are just,
Oh, sorry. I apologize.
no, so those are just sort of, were added for the items that need to be approved by council. We sort of put in, roughly when those would be heard in council or submitted to council. So those are not, those, rows are not, doesn't have anything to do with the commission. It's just when council
We
acts.
don't have to go.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Field?
Thank you. Yeah, I think a couple things to clarify. We're not voting on any more stuff today. This is for discussion only, right? Also, I think, again, I may have misunderstood, the hiring, this thing we've talked about, the bench and who's on it and blah, blah, blah. By when are you guys planning to, in other words, if your proposal is that we delegate to staff because of our tight timeline, by when were you planning to do it?
For hiring?
Yeah.
I mean, ideally, we'd like to bring someone on before that meeting in July 19th.
That's what.
To do all, to promote it,
Right.
to make sure we're having, that it's accessible to city residents and people can attend. So that's the goal.
So my follow-up, if I may, Chairman, is if then, and I personally want to say I think that's the right thing. They have to start working before July 19th to get people to show up. But that means that either, in effect, we are delegating it entirely to you, or potentially, depending on the mood of when we're a full body on, well, I guess we're not, so in other words, we can't really meet and make decisions till July 19th in terms, unless we have a special meeting earlier in July. Well, we can't make any motions on this. I'm personally okay to let you all figure it out and report back. The only question is, we can't really get any reporting from you until the 19th. In other words, we can't get an email from you saying, here's who we hired, because of the Brown Act, right?
I believe we can still communicate, and we will be communicating with you between now and then on just general updates, staff updates. We just, the Brown Act really, I'm not trying to be the lawyer of the room, but the Brown Act really applies to the discussions this body has. Now, if you all started an email chain to discuss it, that would be a violation of the Brown Act, especially if it was 4 or more, 5 or whatever the number is. I would not recommend it. A violation of the Brown Act. So we will keep you posted on other staff things that will come up on logistics. Talking about logistics and talking about like meeting times and, those are all permissible within the Brown Act.
Getting a look as if they want a response. Yes, so this isn't intended to be a full-fledged Brown Act training. Obviously, that would require a lot more time.
Yeah.
But generally, I agree with what you're saying, which is the Brown Act applies to all of you and the future members. The executive director and the assistant executive director are not, or deputy executive director are not members of this body. They are staff that are intended to help you all do your job. So in terms of unilateral communications that come from the executive director and the deputy executive director, that's fine. But to the extent you have additional questions about communications within the body itself or hitting reply, I think I will just say as a word of warning, CCing everybody is not necessarily your friend in this instance because it can result in problems. I will leave that at that unless and until we have a full-fledged Brown Act training. You can communicate directly and individually with the staff.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the outreach plan?
Yes.
Commissioner Schlager.
Hi, thank you so much. Given that you're developing this task order on this schedule we just outlined, I just wanted to underscore the interest in, one, ensuring that there's some flexibility for us to, evolve it as necessary, and 2, for us to enter, as the chair had said, 2025, to make sure that we are making the most use of our virtual capacities, of our online capacities. One of the speakers spoke about, trying to reach out to youth. That's certainly a platform in which a large portion of the audience we're trying to reach is going to engage on, and that can be a vehicle for bringing us information as well as us notifying them of events, right? So with the use of online surveys that are properly structured, I think a consultant who's got chops can do a job where we're getting some feedback that is trustworthy input into our process, and that we as commissioners can make use of these platforms so as to make the most of our time here. Thanks.
Any other commissioners like to ask any questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, I'll entertain a motion to receive and file. Anyone like to make a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, well, seeing no further discussion, let's go for a vote. We'll do a roll call vote. Commissioner Field,
Yes.
Commissioner Lewis,
Yes.
Commissioner Mesa, that's myself, yes. Commissioner Murray,
Yes.
Commissioner Sanchez,
Yes.
Commissioner Schlageter,
Yes.
Commissioner Stein.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Does there need to be a roll call vote
Before we
also?
vote on that, I need
That-
to
okay.
ask a question.
Okay. Maybe let's, I think whoever did it, could you rescind the motion?
myself.
Okay, wonderful, thank you.
Well, it's a motion, so anyway, my question is about the communications to us and as a commission, to make sure that we're prepared for our next meeting. We got some paper here, we got an email earlier in the day. I'm interested in whether we can shift this to some, digital document communications so that I'm not overwhelmed with a packet of information. If we're going to get 20 resumes in the next one, I'd rather not us all have that in paper in front of us and us to have it, in some advanced digital form. So whether that's a discussion point or just a point of preference I'd like to make, let me please recommend that and hope that it would alleviate some of the work for city clerk as well.
Commissioner Lewis?
Yeah, I'd like to piggyback on that. And is it allowable for us to have our own devices, laptops, or whatever the case might be, so that we can just have this documentation electronically? I try to save paper, and so, it'd be helpful for me to have a laptop here and review documents that way.
So in terms of this commission's ability to bring their own devices, the Brown Act is silent on that. That's up to you on what you would like to do. As far as making documents available to the group ahead of time, it's something that we will work with staff on. There are some special rules that apply. If you'll notice, for everybody who's in the room and listening, I believe that the documents that includes the letters that were submitted are posted online as well on the same page that the agenda is posted, but we will work with staff on that as well.
Thank you.
If I may?
Please.
And for the public and everyone listening, the commissioners will be meeting again on June 17th at 2 p.m. That's when we did a head count of who could come, and they were all available on June 17th, next Tuesday, same time, different room, 1010, same floor, but different room, 1010 here, 2 p.m. at City Hall.
Any commissioners have any further comments or questions? All right, seeing none, I'll get, I need a new motion to adjourn, please.
I'll motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Without objection? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Well done.
Thank you.
Well done. All right, just put your name in the.
Okay, good practice. Now let's really do it. Again, everyone, just be cautious of the streets outside. Again, Temple,